Hello and thank you so much for tuning in. Today I'm going to be sharing swatches and a review of products from the new Fem Rosa Karrueche and Colourpop collection. I have all 4 of the lip products to share, as well as the eyeshadow palette. There is a face palette in this collection as well, which I did not pick up because it wouldn't suit my skin tone. Colourpop has done a lot of collaborations, including many with persons of color, but they have yet to do one with a person with a deeper skin tone since they've released some of their newer products. I know way back when Colourpop did do a collaboration with Ellery, but that was back when they only had their lipsticks, or lippy sticks, their lippy pencils, and their Super Shock shadows. So since then they've obviously released a lot of new products, but they've yet to collab with somebody with a darker skin tone or release a face palette, just straight out release one for people with a darker skin tone. So Colourpop, I'm gonna need you to do better on that, but that is neither here nor there. For this video I will talk about the products that I did pick up, which, like I said, are the 4 lip products, one of which is a bonus lip product that you can get if you purchase $20 worth of product or more from the collection, and of course the eyeshadow palette. So I will leave in the description box the eyeshadow review portion of the video and the lip product review portion in case you're just interested in one or the other. But without further ado, let's get started. This first shade that I'm wearing on my lips is called Mrs., and it is basically just a standard coral shade. I feel like it did apply really nicely, especially for it to be a brighter color. Sometimes brighter color formulations can be a little bit tricky, but this one went on relatively well. I do feel like you can definitely still see through a little bit to my top lip, which is naturally darker than my bottom lip, but I actually kind of like that overall look that it gives. I feel like it makes the color a little bit more wearable on my skin tone. This personally is still not a color I would wear on its own. It's a little bit too jarring in my personal opinion, but I feel like this would pair very, very nicely with a brown lip liner, or even mixed in with the darker satin lip shade in this collection, which I've done before and have gotten really great results with. The next shade that I am wearing on my lips is another ultra satin lip product, and it is the shade Darling. It's a really gorgeous plummy mauve color, and I love these types of colors, and I'm really glad to have it in the ultra satin lip formula. I do have several of these from Colourpop already, and it's a really great formula, but unlike their original ultra matte lip formula, these do not dry down to a powdery finish. These still set into place, however, which makes them a really long wearing lip product. I find these to be really comfortable to wear. This next shade is one of the ultra glossy lip products, and this is in the shade Contessa. This is basically a translucent gloss with some gold flecks of glitter in it. I find that this gloss by itself doesn't really do much on the lips. I mean, my lips do look, I guess, shinier or more shimmery than they would be with just a regular translucent gloss, but the gold in it really doesn't show up as well. I've tried this product on top of the other 2 ultra satin lip products in this collection, and I found that on top of those, this also basically still functioned like a translucent gloss. Overall, by itself, it's a nice sort of like comfy lip gloss. It's not terribly sticky. I just feel like this shade leaves a lot to be desired for it to look as pretty and golden as it is in the tube. I will say that unlike a lot of other glosses that may contain glitters in them, this one is definitely, again, like I said, on the comfortable side. You don't feel the grittiness that you sometimes feel with products that have glitters or shimmers in them, so that's nice. That's the nice thing about this gloss, but like I said, it really isn't as beautiful or as stunning as it appears in the tube. Okay, this last shade that I'm wearing on my lips is called Polished, and it is one of the ultra glossy lip products. As you can see, this has an entirely different finish from the first shade I tried on from the glossy lip line, which was the shade Contessa, in that this one is way more opaque. So I think Colourpop has different sort of opacity levels within their ultra glossy lip products, but this one's definitely much more on the opaque side of things, and this is that shade that is available as a bonus shade if you purchase $20 worth of product or more from the Fem Rosa collection. I just checked the website, and that is still a promotion that they're running, so if you pick up $20 worth of product from the Fem Rosa collection, you will get this shade for free. I don't know if Colourpop has plans to release this shade individually or not, but I kind of hope they do, because even if you don't like anything else in this collection, I think this lip gloss is stunning. I actually don't feel like it fits that well into the collection because it is much more of a warm orangey bronze shade, whereas the rest of the collection obviously is very, you know, full of baby pinks and rose colors. Either way, it's a gorgeous shade. Metallic glossy products I'm generally not that much a fan of, but I do love this shade on my skin tone. I think it looks absolutely stunning and it's super opaque, so this shade particularly blew me out of the water. I really hope that they release it individually so that you can get your hands on it even if you're not interested in getting $20 worth of product from the collection. Alright, from top to bottom in the palette, these are the first 6 swatches, and I did these by finger, and I did swatch these on top of an eyeshadow primer. I used the Lorac Behind the Scenes primer. Now I'm going to go ahead and go in with brush swatches, and I'm going to be using the Zoeva 232 Luxe Classic Shader for these swatches. Now I'm going to swatch the last 6 shades in the palette, which will be these 2 here and then the entire bottom row. By the way, I have been cleaning off my brush in between swatches using this brush cleaner, which is by this brand, JCat Beauty. I got it from Ulta, a lot cheaper than the Vera Moda brush cleaner. And here we have the last row with finger swatches. So I've had this palette for about a week and a half now, and I've pretty much formulated my thoughts on the product. I feel like this is a good eyeshadow formula, but it's definitely not comparable to higher end formulas on the market in the sense that these definitely take a lot more work to get a nice result out of. I found that, for example, with these matte shades, they took a lot of building up to get them to be sort of at the full opacity. Once I was able to get them in the place that I wanted them to be, I found that they stayed in place really nicely. And do keep in mind that I always use an eyeshadow primer, so I would definitely suggest that with any eyeshadow that you're using, but particularly these, and I feel like you will get just as much staying power out of them as, you know, other formulas. I also feel like this is a pretty wasteful formula as well because the eyeshadows themselves are quite powdery. The formula kicks up quite a lot of product, and that isn't always necessarily a bad thing, but because these again take building up anyways, the fact that you do get so much product kick up with these is a little bit on the wasteful side. I feel like I could see myself hitting pan on these eyeshadows, not because they're smaller than other eyeshadows that I have in my collection, but because they take building up and the formula itself is already so powdery. So I feel like if you're somebody who is buying this eyeshadow palette and it's one of the only ones that you're going to have in your collection, or if you feel really drawn to using this palette a lot, you're probably going to hit pan on it because of that issue. So that's kind of disappointing. You know, if this was going to be a formula that was harder to build up, then it definitely should have been a little bit more dense and not as wasteful as it is. I also do feel like there is one shade in here that is just a complete dud, and that's this shade right here called Gal, and you probably could tell from the swatches of it that this shade basically does absolutely nothing. It's basically formulated more like a glitter topper type of shade, which I'm not opposed to. So I'm not somebody who's biased against glitter topper formulas when I see them in eyeshadow palettes. I feel like if you have a good glitter topper formula and you know how to use it, you can get really nice looks with them. This one just isn't one of those ones that has a good formula. I feel like this just did virtually nothing, and I tried to work with it before and I found that it really didn't add anything. And to add insult to injury, you already have this shade over here called Philly, which is a really pretty bronzy color that's kind of in the same bronzy family as this shade. So it's almost like these two have the same sort of like tones to them, but this shade way outperforms this shade. So Gal is a shade that I definitely don't see myself reaching for at all. This shade down here called Duchess, I thought was going to be a dud because it doesn't swatch very well, but on the eyes, when I pack this color on, it performs just fine. This one also had more of a satin finish compared to the rest of the mattes. It definitely isn't as sort of shiny as a satin finish as this shade up here, but it definitely had more of a sheen to it than the rest. I feel like once you pack it onto the eye, it pretty much translates as a matte anyways, but it's definitely something worth noting. Also, my other con with this palette is I feel like there are some shades in here that are just a little bit too similar to one another. I feel like this shade and this shade right here are both two very similar like baby pink shades that kind of don't need to both be in here. Like I said, these two shades were already very similar in tone, even though this one definitely is the far superior shade. And then even these two darker matte shades down here, although they appear very different in the pan, I feel like on my skin tone they ended up looking quite similar. So I feel like for this to be a, you know, pretty small palette with 12 different shades, you would want to have a lot of variety with those 12 different shades, and I feel like there's some repetitiveness going on. So I think that's definitely something that, you know, knocks the palette down a few notches. But overall, still a really gorgeous palette, and if you're willing to put the work in, you can get some really pretty looks out of this palette, and it's only $16, so I mean, you're really not breaking the bank with it either. So those are my thoughts on the Fem Rosa collection. I hope that you enjoyed this video and you found it helpful. Definitely feel free to share this video with anybody who's thinking of picking up either the eyeshadow palette or the lip products and wants to see them swatched on a deeper skin tone. And definitely subscribe to my channel if you're interested in this kind of content. I plan on publishing more videos of reviews, swatches, and all that good stuff. As you can probably see behind me, I am quite the makeup collector, so I have plenty of things to talk about. But either way, thank you so much for watching.